10 bizarre alien sightings. Number 10. The Washington, D.C. sightings. Back in 1952, Washington, D.C. was the center of attention when ground controllers at the Washington National Airport, now renamed the Reagan International Airport, had seen a number of targets showing up on their radars, as well as these luminous orbs of light that were sitting on the horizon. This led the Air Force to launch fighter jets in a pointless attempt to get anywhere near the objects. This event managed to take place over the course of 2 consecutive weekends, on July 13th and July 29th. It also managed to get the president's attention while having almost an immediate backlash. Number 9. The Kecksburg, Pennsylvania UFO crash. It was back on December 9th, 1965, when a massively intense fireball was viewed by thousands of people in a minimum of 6 states and Ontario, Canada, as it flew across the night sky, where it eventually made its landing somewhere by the tiny Pennsylvania town of Kecksburg. The citizens initially believed it to be just a great ball of fire. However, there was some common concern raised as the army swooped in to collect what was described as a bell-shaped aircraft from the woods. Some claimed that it was nothing more than a Soviet satellite that happened to crash, but UFO enthusiasts aren't buying into this explanation. Though this would explain the heavy army presence that was seen that night, as this was during around the height of the Cold War. Number 8. The Barney and Betty Hill abduction. This is the first known case claiming abduction, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. Back on September 19th, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill saw what they thought was a UFO while they were driving down a secluded road near Groveton, New Hampshire. The couple claimed that after that, they had no recollection as to what happened afterwards and were missing for a period of time that they couldn't account for. It was in the weeks after that they both described having these terrifying nightmares of being poked and prodded by gray aliens as part of a strange medical examination that was taking place and were then released. The couple sought help from a hypnotist, and it was believed that they were just victims of an overactive imagination, as they had seen a program about extraterrestrials weeks before their nightmares. Number 7. The Tehran, Iran UFO incident. It was only up until 1976 that people seemed to believe that UFOs were astonishingly immune to being located on radars. Not always, thus insinuating that UFOs were more make-believe. Although that notion changed during the pre-dawn hours of September 19, 1976, when Iranian jet fighters were pursuing a wildly maneuvering UFO that was flying over Tehran that was picked up by a multitude of radar stations. What's even more astonishing is that the object managed to affect the jets' systems whenever they came too close, leaving all the electronic equipment useless. Number 6. The Phoenix Lights. Most likely known as one of the most famous incidents to recently occur because of the large amount of onlookers that involved the local residents of Arizona. Even the governor at the time claimed to have saw it. Viewed as a series of lights along with a large triangular-shaped saucer, they could be seen floating in the sky for almost 3 hours on the night of March 13th, 1997. It was later explained that some of the lights were actually the result of flares being dropped during a training exercise. Whatever the case may be, these mysterious lights haven't made a second appearance and has left the citizens of Phoenix, Arizona collectively puzzled as to what essentially could have caused them to appear in the first place, and leaving behind a strong debate between skeptics and believers that has taken place for nearly 20 years. Number 5. The Mantell Incident. This could be the first incident directly attributed to an unidentified flying object to result in a fatality. Way back on January 7th, 1948, an Air National Guard pilot named Captain Thomas F. Mantell had somehow crashed his P-51 fighter plane while he was chasing after an object with an unusual nature in the skies over Kentucky. Mantell was so determined to catch whatever it was he was pursuing that he flew up into altitudes that were too high and had such little oxygen levels. Since he had no oxygen mask, Mantell ultimately blacked out and crashed. A later investigation that took place suggests that Mantell might have been chasing a Skyhook weather balloon that is said to take on a disc-like appearance when viewed from below. If this were the case, then Mantell has no one to blame but his own zeal. After all, he did disregard Air Force procedures for flying in a high-altitude area. Number 4. The JAL Flight 1628 UFO incident. It was back on November 16, 1986, when a UFO was reported at being up to 3 times bigger than an aircraft carrier that flew right next to Japan Airlines Flight 1628 for about 50 minutes as it was flying over northeastern Alaska. Both of the objects happened to be scanned and picked up by the use of military and civilian ground radar. Number 3. Airplane UFO sighting. Back on July 21st, 2016, a video clip that shows what looks to be a bright object racing through the night sky with a giant blue cloud tailing it made its way onto the web and has managed to go viral after it amassed more than 40,000 views on the site LiveLeak. In the video, you can see just how fast the object is moving and how puzzled everyone seems to be as to what they're witnessing, though not everyone is buying into this. Some skeptics are commenting if this is even real, saying that this could possibly just be space junk re-entering the atmosphere, or that it could be a comet fragment passing by. Whatever it may be, it does make you wonder. Number 2, the Kenneth Arnold's Mountain Rainier, Washington sighting. A Seattle pilot and businessman named Kevin Arnold noticed a number of billowing shapes soaring over Mount Rainier during one afternoon in May of 1947 that was moving at speeds much faster than what the best aircraft back then could have accomplished. In some stroke of luck, he managed to get the media's attention after he had landed, and there was a new era of aerial phenomena born. He described what he saw as an object that looked as if it skipped like a saucer across a pond, and that is how the term flying saucer was coined. Many skeptics today still continue to dispute Arnold's claims about what he saw that day and state that it was nothing more than just the reflection of his cockpit window. Whatever he saw, there's no denying the impact it would have on our society's culture. Number 1, the Roswell, New Mexico crash and recovery. It was back in July of 1947 when the famous incident just 50 miles outside of the New Mexico city of Roswell took place. A local farmer by the name of Matt Brazel happened to stumble upon a debris field that was scattered with small metallic strips and wooden sticks close to his farm. Matt was no stranger to reading stories about flying discs in the newspaper, and so he called the local military authorities to come and investigate the scene. Ultimately, the military came to the conclusion that the debris came from a crashed weather balloon. However, it wasn't until the late 70s that a military officer named Jesse MAERCEL, who recovered the debris, claimed it was extraterrestrial. Thus, conspiracy theorists grabbed onto this and held tightly that there may be other life among us.